Let me ask you a simple question. How many times have you told yourself, I will start speaking English when my grammar becomes perfect? How many times have you waited for the right moment, the right confidence, the right vocabulary, or the right opportunity? And while you were waiting, days passed, months passed, and for some people, even years passed. The truth is, perfection is one of the biggest lies we tell ourselves. We believe that one day we will wake up feeling completely ready, completely confident, and completely prepared to speak English fluently. But that day never comes. Because confidence does not come before action. Confidence comes because of action. Think about a child learning to walk. Does a child wait until they can walk perfectly before taking the first step? No. They fall, they struggle, they stumble, and they try again. Nobody laughs at them for making mistakes because mistakes are a natural part of growth. Yet when it comes to learning English, many adults expect themselves to be perfect from the very beginning. For the next 30 days, I want you to make a promise to yourself. Stop hiding behind preparation. Stop collecting grammar rules without using them. Stop memorizing vocabulary that never reaches your lips. Your challenge is not to speak perfect English. Your challenge is simply to speak. Speak when your sentence is incomplete. Speak when your pronunciation is not perfect. Speak when your voice shakes. Speak when you are afraid of making mistakes. Because every sentence you speak is a victory over fear. Every mistake you make is proof that you are learning. Every attempt moves you one step closer to fluency. Remember, people who speak English fluently today were not born fluent. They were beginners too. They made mistakes too. They felt embarrassed too. The difference is that they kept going when others stopped. They chose progress over perfection. And that is exactly what this 30-day challenge is about. Not becoming perfect overnight, but becoming brave enough to start. Because the moment you stop waiting to be perfect and start speaking anyway, something powerful begins to happen. Your fear becomes smaller. Your confidence becomes stronger. And your voice finally starts finding its place in the world. Your first step towards speaking English like a pro is simple. Start speaking today. Now that you have decided to stop waiting for perfection and start speaking, there is something even more important you must understand. Speaking English fluently is not just a skill of the tongue. It is a habit of the mind. Before your words can change, your thinking must change. Most people spend years learning English, yet they still struggle to speak. Do you know why? Because every time they want to say something, their brain first creates the sentences in their native language. Then it tries to translate it into English. Then it checks the grammar. Then it worries about mistakes. By the time the sentence is ready, the opportunity to speak is already gone. Imagine trying to run while carrying a heavy backpack filled with stones. That is exactly what translation does to your fluency. It slows you down, it exhausts your confidence, it makes speaking feel like hard work. During this 30-day challenge, I want you to train your brain differently. Start thinking in English, even if your thoughts are small and simple. When you wake up in the morning, tell yourself, today is going to be a good day. When you drink water, think, I am thirsty. When you walk outside, describe what you see around you in English. Don't worry if your sentences are basic. Simplicity is not weakness. Simplicity is the beginning of mastery. Many people believe they need thousands of words before they can think in English. That is not true. You start with the words you already know. You build one thought at a time, one sentence at a time, one day at a time. At first, it may feel uncomfortable. Your brain will resist because it is used to old patterns. But every new habit feels strange before it feels natural. The more you think in English, the less you will need to translate. The less you translate, the faster you will speak. And the faster you speak, the more confident you will become. Remember, fluency is not about speaking complicated English. Fluency is about expressing your thoughts without fear, hesitation, or constant translation. The goal is not to impress people with difficult words. The goal is to make English a natural part of your thinking. The day English becomes the language of your thoughts is the day fluency stops feeling impossible and starts becoming inevitable. Train your mind first and your voice will follow. Once you begin thinking in English, you will notice something interesting. Speaking becomes easier, but maintaining that progress becomes the next challenge. And this is where many people lose momentum. They practice English for 20 minutes, then spend the remaining 23 hours and 40 minutes just completely disconnected from the language. Then they wonder why fluency feels so far away. The truth is, your environment shapes your growth more than your motivation does. You can be highly motivated today and completely discouraged tomorrow. But when English becomes part of your daily environment, learning continues even on the days when motivation disappears. Many people believe they need to travel abroad to become fluent. They think fluency lives in another country, another city, or another classroom. But fluency is not a location. It is an environment that you create around yourself. For the next 30 days, I want you to stop treating English as a subject and start treating it as a companion. Let it walk beside you throughout your day. Change the language settings on your phone. Read simple English posts when you open social media. Listen to English podcasts while commuting, exercising, or doing household tasks. Watch videos not just for entertainment, but with curiosity and attention. And please remember, this is not about understanding every single word. Too many learners quit because they expect perfection from themselves. If you understand 50% today, that is better than understanding nothing yesterday. Growth happens gradually. Fluency is built through exposure, not pressure. Imagine placing a plant near sunlight every single day. You may not see dramatic changes overnight, but week after week, it grows stronger. Your mind works the same way. Every English sentence you hear, every phrase you read, every word you notice is feeding your brain. Even when you do not realize it, your mind is absorbing patterns, sounds, and expressions. The goal is not to make English a task that feels heavy. The goal is to make it a natural part of your life. When English surrounds you consistently, your brain stops treating it as something foreign. It begins to recognize it, understand it, and eventually use it with confidence. Remember, extraordinary results rarely come from extraordinary effort. They come from ordinary actions repeated consistently over time. When English becomes part of your daily life, fluency stops being a dream and starts becoming your reality. As English becomes part of your daily life, there is one challenge that remains stronger than grammar, stronger than vocabulary, and sometimes even stronger than your desire to improve. That challenge is fear. The fear of making mistakes, the fear of sounding foolish, the fear of being judged. And for many people, this fear becomes the invisible wall that stands between them and fluency. Let me tell you something important. The goal of this 30-day challenge is not to eliminate fear. The goal is to stop letting fear make your decisions. Too often, people stay silent because they are waiting to feel confident. They think confidence comes first and speaking comes later. But life does not work that way. Confidence is not something you find. Confidence is something you build. And you build it by doing the very thing that scares you. Think about every skill you admire. Whether it is driving, swimming, public speaking, or learning a new language, nobody starts with confidence. They start with uncertainty. They start with awkwardness. They start with mistakes. What separates successful people from everyone else is not talent. It is their willingness to keep going despite discomfort. For the next 30 days, I want you to give yourself permission to be imperfect. Speak even when you are unsure. Speak even when you cannot find the perfect word. Speak even when your pronunciation is not exactly right. Every time you choose action over fear, you become stronger than the voice inside your head that says, "What if I fail?" And here is something remarkable. Most people are so busy worrying about themselves that they are not paying nearly as much attention to your mistakes as you think. The embarrassment you fear is often much bigger in your imagination than it is in reality. One of the most powerful habits you can develop is speaking every single day. Talk to yourself in English. Record your voice, read aloud, answer simple questions, describe your day. The more often you hear your own voice speaking English, the more natural it begins to feel. At first, it may feel uncomfortable. Your voice may shake, you may hesitate. But day after day, something incredible happens. The fear that once controlled you begins to lose its power. The hesitation becomes shorter, the confidence becomes stronger, and the person who was once afraid to speak starts speaking without even thinking about it. Remember, fluency is not built in moments of comfort. It is built in moments of courage. Speak anyway and watch your confidence catch up. By this point in the journey, you have already done something remarkable. You stopped waiting for perfection. You started training your mind to think in English. You created an environment that supports your growth. And most importantly, you learned to speak despite fear. But now comes the stage where real transformation begins. This is where you stop practicing randomly and start building the habits that make you sound like a confident English speaker. Many people believe fluency is the result of learning thousands of difficult words. They spend hours memorizing vocabulary lists, hoping that one day those words will magically turn into fluent conversations. But language does not work that way. Fluency is not built on complicated words. It is built on repeated patterns, useful expressions, and consistent habits. Think about your native language. You do not create every sentence from scratch. You use familiar phrases, common structures, and expressions you have heard thousands of times before. Fluent English speakers do exactly the same thing. They are not searching for perfect words every second. They have trained their minds through repetition until speaking becomes natural. For the next part of this challenge, focus on mastering simple but powerful sentence patterns. Learn phrases that people use in real conversations. Practice how native speakers connect words. Pay attention to pronunciation, rhythm, and expression. Not because you want to sound perfect, but because you want your message to flow smoothly and confidently. And remember, improvement does not come from doing something extraordinary once. It comes from doing something ordinary every day. 5 minutes of focused speaking every day is more powerful than 3 hours of practice once a month. Small habits may seem insignificant in the moment, but they create extraordinary results over time. This is why successful people trust the process even when they cannot immediately see the results. They understand that every practice session is a deposit into their future. Every sentence spoken, every phrase repeated, every recording reviewed is shaping the speaker they are becoming. There will be days when progress feels invisible. Days when you think you are not improving fast enough. On days, remind yourself that growth is happening beneath the surface. Just like a seed grows roots before anyone sees the plant, your fluency is developing long before the world notices it. Stay consistent. Stay patient. Stay committed to the habits that move you forward. Because the people who speak English like pros are simply the people who refuse to stop practicing like beginners. By this point in the journey, you have already done something remarkable. You stopped waiting for perfection. You started training your mind to think in English. You created an environment that supports your growth. And most importantly, you learned to speak despite fear. But now comes the stage where real transformation begins. This is where you stop practicing randomly and start building the habits that make you sound like a confident English speaker. Many people believe fluency is the result of learning thousands of difficult words. They spend hours memorizing vocabulary lists, hoping that one day those words will magically turn into fluent conversations. But language does not work that way. Fluency is not built on complicated words. It is built on repeated patterns, useful expressions, and consistent habits. Think about your native language. You do not create every sentence from scratch. You use familiar phrases, common structures, and expressions you have heard thousands of times before. Fluent English speakers do exactly the same thing. They are not searching for perfect words every second. They have trained their minds through repetition until speaking becomes natural. For the next part of this challenge, focus on mastering simple but powerful sentence patterns. Learn phrases that people use in real conversations. Practice how native speakers connect words. Pay attention to pronunciation, rhythm, and expression. Not because you want to sound perfect, but because you want your message to flow smoothly and confidently. And remember, improvement does not come from doing something extraordinary once. It comes from doing something ordinary every day. 5 minutes of focused speaking every day is more powerful than 3 hours of practice once a month. Small habits may seem insignificant in the moment, but they create extraordinary results over time. This is why successful people trust the process even when they cannot immediately see the results. They understand that every practice session is a deposit into their future. Every sentence spoken, every phrase repeated, every recording reviewed is shaping the speaker they are becoming. There will be days when progress feels invisible. Days when you think you are not improving fast enough. On those days, remind yourself that growth is happening beneath the surface. Just like a seed grows roots before anyone sees the plant, your fluency is developing long before the world notices it. Stay consistent. Stay patient. Stay committed to the habits that move you forward. Because the people who speak English like pros are simply the people who refuse to stop practicing like beginners. And now, here we are. The final stage of this 30-day challenge. But I want you to understand something very important. The greatest achievement of these 30 days is not that you learned more vocabulary. It is not that your pronunciation improved. It is not even that you can speak English more fluently than before. The greatest achievement is that you became a different person. Think back to the person who started this journey. Maybe they were afraid to speak. Maybe they doubted themselves every time they opened their mouth. Maybe they believed that fluency was something meant for other people but not for them. They looked at confident English speakers and wondered if they would ever reach that level. But look at yourself now. You started speaking before you felt ready. You trained your mind to think differently. You created an environment that supported your growth. You spoke despite fear. You built habits that moved you forward every single day. And step by step, without even realizing it, you started becoming the person you once admired. This is the power of consistency. Not because it changes your language overnight, but because it changes your identity over time. So many people spend their lives waiting for a breakthrough moment. They wait for confidence to arrive. They wait for motivation to appear. They wait for circumstances to become perfect. But the truth is that transformation rarely happens in one dramatic moment. It happens quietly. It happens through daily decisions. It happens when you choose growth over excuses again and again, and that is exactly what these 30 days represent. Proof that you are capable of more than you once believed. Proof that fear does not have to control your future. Proof that progress belongs to those who keep moving, even when the steps are small. Will you be perfectly fluent after 30 days? Probably not. But that was never the goal. The goal was to prove to yourself that fluency is possible. The goal was to build momentum. The goal was to become someone who no longer says, I wish I could speak English, but someone who proudly says, I am becoming fluent every day. Because in the end, speaking English like a pro is not just about the language you speak. It is about the confidence with which you choose to speak it. Your next 30 days can change your English, but they can also change your life.